All right, guys, what's going on? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And there are a few people on all sorts of different social media forms, whether it's content creation on YouTube, whether it's the comment section of my videos, whether it's in the comment section of other people's videos, whether it's on Twitter or whatever it is, whatever form of social media out there, there seem to be a significant amount of people that are saying that XDefiant is already dead because it has lost a significant amount of players in comparison to what we had for the first few weeks of the game. And as you guys know, when the game launched, it was confirmed by the devs themselves or Ubisoft themselves or whatnot that the game had 12 million unique users and about 700 to 750,000 concurrent players. Now, since that time, which was about 3 to 3.5 weeks ago or so, those numbers seem to have dropped significantly. And so far, a lot of these people seem to point to the Twitch viewership. And that's not necessarily incorrect. It is kind of a way of showing the difference in terms of the interest that people have. But at the same time, most people that play the game are not watching the game. You know what I mean? So let alone playing the game and watching the game at the same time. And then, of course, there's the different streaming there's the different streaming services, not just Twitch, although Twitch is the most popular one. I would probably say that there's also things like content creation. You can check out the views on people's videos and content creation and stuff like that. Now, obviously, as far as this channel is concerned, we're obviously doing quite well over here. And I just want to say this right off the bat before continuing on with the nitty gritty of this video. If XDefiant ends up dying so much to where everything literally takes a hit to where, and what I mean by that is, let's say the amount of people that play the game continues to drop, and obviously, or if people on my channel don't want to see XDefiant viewership anymore or abandon the channel or whatever it is, if I still enjoy making XDefiant videos, regardless of all these things, I am going to continue making XDefiant videos. I just wanted to say that right off the bat because I'm sure some of you guys subconsciously or subliminally in the back of your minds are like, well, Jack, what are the plans if XDefiant fails? If XDefiant fails, the plan is that I am still going to be making XDefiant content as long as I enjoy making XDefiant content. And obviously, for those of you guys that love the game, that's going to be the thing as well. Now, obviously, there may be a sprinkle of different kinds of videos made. And what I mean by that, I don't necessarily mean out of the commentaries category. I mean, commentaries are still going to be happening. That's the style of video that I only have time to make in terms of video like this. But there may be other things discussed. Now, as you guys know, there's a lot of things going on in the Nintendo world, the PlayStation world, and the Microsoft world. So within the gaming world, it's very easy to make a commentary that either A, still has the background gameplay of XDefiant, but we're talking about something else, or B, change the background gameplay to something else, but we're talking about, yet again, that something else. Because I do enjoy playing different games, and if XDefiant were to become stale in that aspect to the point to where I won't be playing it as much anymore, I'll either use new gameplay footage, or old gameplay footage that I already saved, or I'll just switch it up and play something different and do different commentaries. Simple as that, really. And whether or not the channel continues to grow is something that is a secondary factor. The primary factor is always the enjoyment / fun factor. You know what I mean? So if it ever gets to a point to where I don't enjoy XDefiant, then that's obviously a completely different story. Then obviously we're going to change things up. But if I still enjoy playing the game and I still enjoy making content on it, then therefore don't expect anything to change, even if the popularity goes down. And one other thing that I do want to mention before moving on is that I think that XDefiant really does have a solid chance. Now, I could be wrong, but I really do believe that XDefiant has a solid chance to be that one game in months from now to where people will say, wow, it's amazing how far this game has come over the last 3 or 4 months. The hit registration and netcode is that much better. We've got all these other game modes that are out now and maps that are out now. Ranked has been fixed. The prestige system is awesome. There's a lot of camos to grind for. There's more weapons to play with. And the game itself is in a really, really solid state, and it continues to get the love and support of the devs. And it's going to be very interesting to see where the game is going to be at in even 3 to 6 months from now. So, in other words, what I'm trying to say is that XDefiant has a solid shot to be that game. Now, whether or not that happens remains to be seen, but let's just say I'm still holding on to the faith. So, okay, now that we've discussed that, let's continue on. Now, because I am curious as to what the player count is, and we actually don't know because XDefiant itself does not have a player counter on the bottom or anything like that of the screen, kind of like the OG CODs, all the way up to COD Ghost, because once Advanced Warfare started and beyond, we haven't had a player count ever since then. So with XDefiant, I reached out to a few fellow content creators about the subject, and not all of them answered, but for the ones that did, they had really interesting answers to say. So I got Anthony, aka Blame Truth. A lot of you guys know him as the COD Father. He answered this one. And he said, daily active users probably around 1 million. Concurrent players during peak probably anywhere from 100,000 to 200,000 across all platforms. So that's his prediction. And Decoy, who is a fellow friend of the channel, had his opinion on this, and he said, I'd bet 50 to 60,000 across all platforms at peak time. And he also additionally mentioned that may even be lowballing because he knows that XDefiant is kind of popping in places like Japan. So it's very interesting in terms of the viewpoints and as well as how many players people think are playing this game. But for me personally, obviously I want to add you guys in, right? I want you guys to tell me what you think the numbers on XDefiant are across all platforms in terms of concurrent players, in terms of whenever you log in to play the game, how many do you think are playing on a daily basis, right? Or for the day or whatever it is. Or should I say, no matter what, concurrent players, how many you can find, as well as what that player count is now overall in terms of how many people are playing currently. So because again, your viewpoints could be completely different, and at the same time in the comment section you guys might say something that would actually make sense and to be like, that's actually interesting, never thought of it that way, and that could be true. Because at this point right now, all we can do is estimate and predict. We don't have an exact player count. I did look up online earlier this week in terms of what is played the most in terms of the most popular games on console or whatnot. And on PlayStation, I think XDefiant is number 5, if I'm not mistaken. And on Xbox, it was number 11 or 13 or something like that. So very different. And we all know that PlayStation numbers are higher than Xbox numbers. We know that there's about 30 or 35 million Game Pass members. We do know that. So number 13 on that, you never know what that number could be, but hopefully it's something significant. And then of course you've got PlayStation, that is just a much more popular system in the first place. That is in the top 5, so to speak. So that is actually a pretty good thing, a really good thing that the PlayStation has the numbers that it has. And whenever I'm in from lobby to lobby, the majority of players that are in that lobby are from Ubisoft Connect, which probably means that it's PC, because I see the little Ubisoft Connect logo or whatnot next to their gamer tag, and I don't see any PlayStation logos like ever, but I don't know if that's because the system just does that to where if you're on PlayStation or on PC, that it would give you the logo of Ubisoft, and if you're on Xbox, you just have the Xbox logo or whatnot to signify that it's a console. I don't know. But my assumption would be is that the majority of players play on PC, because I'm looking at that Ubisoft logo all the time in every single lobby, and I would say only 1/3 or 1/4 of the players in any lobby are on console or on Xbox, so to speak. So that's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be really interesting when console crossplay comes out, because we know that that's coming, and hopefully it'll be here by season 2, if not sometime later after that, because a lot of players are excited about it. A lot of players have been requesting it, but the only thing that I will say that a part of me really feels for the PC community, because a lot of players are playing on PC, and unfortunately a lot of them have also been having issues with cheaters, and these people also play on controller, and they've also invested a good amount of money into a really good system, because PC, regardless of its problems with cheaters, let's be real here, PC is a very powerful platform, and people had made that kind of purchase for a very good reason, and that is to have the ultimate gaming experience and a customizable gaming experience. and they've basically dished out the money in order to do so. And unfortunately, for a long time now, regardless of whatever game you play on, when it comes to multiplayer, cheaters have always been an issue on PC, and it's a really unfortunate thing. And I don't want the players, specifically the legit players, the ones that are just trying to play legitimately without any cheats or anything like that. I really feel for those people on PC, because they just want to play with the rest of us, and that's one of the reasons why crossplay was introduced in the first place. Is so that way everybody can play with everybody regardless, and at the same time, it makes the PC community last that much longer when it comes to a game, because for the PC community back in the day, they used to be like, especially back in the day, and I don't know how it is now. I know that PC is a lot more popular now, but when it comes to multiplayer shooters on PC, especially for games like, let's say, Call of Duty, they would only last for a year, if not less. Like, you guys remember Black Ops 4's Blackout, for instance? In the beginning, it was great. Like, PC players were playing it, et cetera, et cetera. And then the people that played on PC that absolutely loved Blackout either, didn't play it anymore because the player count was so small, or what they ended up doing was they played on PlayStation because they couldn't play it on console anymore because the player count was so small, and it ended up dying on PC. Simple as that. So, but they played it on console, you know what I mean? And they loved it, and they kept on playing it. So, anyway, yeah. So going back on topic here, guys, I really want to know, number one, do you think that XDefiant is going to last the duration? Do you guys think that XDefiant's numbers are going to continue to drop, and then it's going to somehow miraculously just start climbing up again, which is something that's kind of rare when it comes to video games? A lot of video games, whenever they do drop significantly in player numbers, they usually don't have a resurgence. You know what I mean? In other words, they don't all of a sudden start gaining numbers back like they used to be. But at the same time, things like this are possible. You know what I mean? All it really takes is the passion of the community as well as the passion of the devs. And things like this are possible, although they do not happen very often at all, let alone in multiplayer shooters like this. The only game that I can think of off the top of my head right now that that literally got resurrected from the dead was the whole Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and the games of that matter, that kind of, like, you couldn't even buy those games, and now they're getting released in one arcade classic collection that's coming out, I think, sometime later on this year. And a lot of fans are really, really buzzing about it. It was a big deal within the fighting game community as well as the fans of those games. But that's different. Like, those games pretty much didn't exist, and you could hardly play them unless you already had a copy for a very specific system, and there was no online support, no support whatsoever. So it's like there was nothing, you couldn't even buy them. It was really, even if you wanted to play locally or whatnot, it just wasn't a thing anymore. And now with this collection, it's got all the bells and whistles, pretty much the majority of the bells and whistles, except for crossplay. But there's online play, there's rollback netcode, and all that other stuff that's been added, as well as just the entire collection in general, and for multiple systems. So, that was a big thing, and a lot of fans had made their voices heard for years, and then lo and behold, fast forward a few years later, wham bam, they're getting it now. So, and again, that's something of a rarity. That was like a miracle within that community, so to speak, after years of them making their voices heard. But with XDefiant, we don't want to get it to that point. We don't want XDefiant to get to the point where it's not playable anymore. We don't want XDefiant to drop so many player numbers to where the game is just going to have to be dropped, and to where the devs are not going to be able to support it anymore, because they're, obviously none of us can work for free. We all have to make a living, and this includes the devs. So there are a decent amount of people, whether it's on social media, whether it's in my comment section, whether it's in other people's comment section or whatnot, there are a significant amount of people that believe that the game is going to be dead in a few months. Like, literally, like, the player base can drop so much that eventually that they're going to have to drop it, like, let's say after the first year or whatnot. If the Ubisoft devs were given a year, a guaranteed of support, regardless of how the game does, like, a lot of people believe that within that year, the game is going to be dead. So, and whichever side you look at it, whether you look at it on the more positive side of things or more on the negative side of things, both sides hold merit. Like, a lot of people from the positive side, for instance, will say, hey, we've got the right devs working on this, and unfortunately it's just going to take time, and all these good features and all that kind of stuff are coming, and the people are just going to have to be patient. Simple as that, right? But at the same time, when you look at the state of gaming today, players are a lot more impatient, and they expect things from launch and from the get-go, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Plus, you got Call of Duty coming out and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, whichever side you look at it, there are valid points on every side. However, one of the things that seem to be a big issue right now with just games in general is that people are just losing faith in devs or in games in general. If things are not fixed within a certain period of time or whatnot. So I don't know. So where do you guys like, what are your opinions on this? How many players do you think there are? And what do you think is going to happen with XDefiant? It's something that is, on one hand, it's a very hard future to predict, because predicting the future is something that, obviously with some common sense, things can be predicted properly, but at the same time, sometimes you just never know, but I would really like to know in the comment section what you guys think and why. So with that being said, that pretty much covers everything I wanted to say in this video. I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to watch and or listen. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.